Hey everyone, my name is Ronak back with another video, and in this video I am going to tell you how I became a scientist in the AI research domain. So let us get started. So I am going to share you my story how I became scientist and what all things I had learned in past so that you can learn something from it. So this all began when I was doing my engineering. So this course contents are very similar to the computer science engineering. So you are going to come across subjects, the typical subjects like automata theory, data structures, computer organization architecture, database management systems, operating systems, and whatnot. So this is about, like, I would say 2017 or something, when amidst the engineering, I was in a phase where I was learning a lot of things and I was quite inclined towards the web development. I wanted to do web development. So I loved designing websites. So I was working with PHP for a prolonged period of time. And I was also knowing a little bit of JavaScript and a little bit of JavaScript. Okay, not at a good level, I would say, and HTML, CSS. So those were the things. But later on, I decided I had to learn a proper language with which I can perform any software engineering applications. So for that, I started my journey with Java. Now, no offense, there are many powerful Java developers out there, but in my opinion, for me, what suits for me, Java is not the cup of my tea. Okay, I don't seriously don't mean offense. I know really great developers who are my friends who work in the Java domain, but Java doesn't work for me. Okay, I am very, very bad at Java. So I started learning Java after PHP, but I was not fascinated by the way it works and everything, and it was quite overwhelming for me. I don't know why. So later on, I was pondering what all languages I can learn. So this is in the 2017. So this is my 4 years journey that I'm going to share with you. So the moment I started Java, and in, let's say, 3 or 4 months, I quit Java. Okay, I was done. I was like, okay, I cannot do anything in this. Later on, I discovered that there were a lot of things you could have done with the Java. So there was Android development, there was app development and whatnot. Okay, there were many things, but I was not discovering them at the level I wanted to. So when I was a child, I had a fascination towards the robots and I wanted to do something in the robotics, but I went to the IT engineering and everything, and later on the things, quite changed. Okay, they were not according to the way I wanted in the past, in my childhood. Okay, so I was fascinated with the robots, but I was quite associated with the intelligence the robot has. Okay, so one day I had in my mind, I remember even in let's say in my school, there was a name where I wanted to become a scientist. Okay, not professionally, because in that era I thought that scientists were the only people who were working in the domain of the physics or chemistry. I was having zero idea about how you can become a scientist, a professional scientist. So later on, I started discovering a lot of things in the 2017 end. So this might be around, I would say, October. So in October, I started learning Python. Okay, so I took a pace in the June itself, but the learning was not the way it should have been. Okay, I was busy with a lot of different work and different projects. So after that, I started learning Python. I took Python very seriously because I knew that if I'm not good with the Java, I would have to shift my pace in order to catch up with the other languages. Because this is the ground truth. If someone forces you to do Java because they are doing it, you might not necessarily do it as the way they are doing it. All right, so every person is different. Some languages suit specifically for some people. Okay, so that is just personal opinion, I would say. So Python was very, very efficient to learn according to me, in my opinion, I would say. And I was learning Python, so I was very happy with the Python, the way it works and whatnot. Okay, so I was very, very happy with the Python. Later on, when I actually started discovering Python, I knew that I had to develop something or the other in this language. The reason was, I thought that, okay, so whatever web development I'm doing, I'll do it using Python. That was my aim. So I started learning Flask. So Flask is one of the web development frameworks designed specifically for Python. So there were actually two options for me. So one of them was Flask, second was Django. So I went with the Flask because I felt Flask was quite easy. All right, because in the beginning, if you're a beginner, Django is going to be quite overwhelming for you. Okay, that you might feel there are a lot of files, the file structure is very complex and everything, because you are already trying to catch up with the Python. Learning a language is not sufficient. You will have to move on with the competitive programming. Okay, and I actually was trying to avoid CP. Not necessarily I was bad at it. Okay, I developed it later on when I needed, but first of all, I just wanted to develop some projects. That was my goal. So the aim that I kept in my mind was to develop every single thing that I've done till now in PHP in the Flask. Okay, so that actually helped me a lot, because I was designing a lot of applications in the Flask, and I got a grip over it very quickly. And that is the time where I got my first internship, where I closely worked on an IoT application which had Flask in it. So I was developing Flask and everything. And later on, I decided to go on a lot of hackathons, because I wanted to implement the knowledge that I learned in those hackathons. Hackathon is a very, very good place, because you can get along and start with a lot of people of your caliber, maybe some lower, some higher, and you can learn a lot of things, because it is all about the teamwork. You have to develop an application at a very, very accelerated pace. So I had that desire to go to a lot of hackathons, and I was actually doing that, and I was very, very happy with it, because I came to know that going to a lot of hackathons is going to not just improve my leadership skills, because I was always the leader, I was always taking the frontier of my team, but I also knew that I could work with a lot of people from different backgrounds. Okay, so that was the goal. So some of the best hackathons I would say in my life were Smart India Hackathon, obviously, and the second one was National Stock Exchange Hackathon. So this NSE Hackathon was quite interesting story, because that was the first thing where I actually gave a try in order to start with the deep learning. So I'll come to it. So later on, as I was discovering Python with the Flask and everything, I decided that, okay, there are a lot of things specifically that you can do with the Python, because I came across IoT. I was not much fascinated with the IoT, but I was fascinated behind the predictive analysis and everything. Okay, so then I realized that artificial intelligence works pretty well with the Python. So I had this inclination in order to do that. So, and I always had a fascination towards the area of robotics. So I decided, okay, why not just let us start with the AI itself. Okay, so because the AI term was very broad, and a very bad thing was not lot of AI related things were in my syllabus in the engineering. So there was only this one subject known as IS, which is known as Intelligent Systems. So that was only there, which just gave you a basic theoretical understanding of what really AI is. Okay, you couldn't learn a lot of practical things that are going in the industry by yourself. It is very, very difficult. So my fascination actually brought me into this field, and then I started. So a mistake I committed over here was I directly started with the deep learning. That was the problem. And computer syllabus had machine learning subject in their 8th semester. We didn't have anything, so I just started with the deep learning. Okay, so I don't know why I actually did that, but I actually came to this journey till now, so I'm very happy about it. So I started with the deep learning. It was very, very hard. Okay, because I had never faced area where I have to use a lot of math, because I believed that if I want to become a web developer, the creativity aspect of me is going to come into picture and not the mathematical one. But I had to work with a lot of math. Okay, so then I realized I had to work on the databases, because I was doing some of the other SQL because of the web development. So I had an inclination of the SQL. So what I decided, I started with the SQL itself to ETL for ETL, okay, which is extract, transform, load, ETL, which is also the one of the, I would say, important aspects when it comes to the databases. So later on, I started learning a lot of things that are available in the Python itself. Okay, so later on I realized that deep learning was very hard, because I had not been familiar with the basics of the ML. Not necessarily you will have to learn ML for DL, but it is good if you do it, because 75% of the things you learn in the standard machine learning course or anything are going to come across in the deep learning. So I started with the ML after that, and I came across scikit-learn, which is one of my favorite libraries. Okay, so I was using Python. I knew I could leverage the Python in order to develop some great apps. So amidst this, I actually also shifted from SQL to Pandas, because I felt that, okay, Python gives me a leverage to handle and perform ETL very efficiently. So I was very, very inclined towards the Python. I was learning whatever there was in the Python. Then later on, when I completed my machine learning, so I actually started with Andrew Yang's machine learning course, which was very, very good. I would recommend that to anyone, because if you're a very, very beginner, the Andrew Yang's course is the best one in the market right now. So you can do that. So I started with that. After that, I saw some of his Stanford lectures of machine learning, where he teaches on a blue board, all right, with white chalk. Literally, he was using a chalk, and they were very, very mathematically dominant. So I realized there was a lot of math involved, and ever since I was in the IT engineering sector, I had quite less mathematics. I was not having a lot of mathematics, so I was not very, very good at math the way I was supposed to be. Even though it was engineering, the mathematics that we came across was still the second year itself of the engineering, and that was also not particularly going to be used, because there was no statistics in the syllabus. We were much more focusing on the Fourier transforms and Laplace transforms. So I had to learn the math also. I was learning a lot of things at the same time. Okay. And just because I was participating in many of the competitions and hackathons, I had to also learn cloud development. I was also learning APIs. I was learning a lot of things. Okay. So at that was the point where I learned AWS, Azure and GCP and everything, using APIs, making quick applications and everything. So I was leveraging my machine learning knowledge also in order to handle the data, but also working on the application aspect. Later on, after my engineering, so I was out for jobs. I was looking for a lot of jobs. So amidst that, between that phase, I started teaching, because I knew that if I could teach, if I could plant my concept in someone's mind, I would be a very good at my concept itself. Okay, so I was basically using Feynman's technique, where if you can explain the things very easily to others, it is a great revision for you. So I was actually doing that. I was conducting a lot of workshops. I had decided to teach over 1000 students. So that was my goal, and I already accomplished it. So I even started my YouTube channel, where I was sharing my knowledge. I can admit it, because in 2017, the way I'm very different now. Okay, I work on a very different plane. So I admit it. Okay, I was very, very poor with the coding aspect, but later on the things did change when I started taking efforts. So in 2019, I actually applied for a job where I was offered a position of a machine learning engineer. I was very, very happy. Job was good, pay was good, but I had an inclination to learn more what is in the deep learning. So I went for masters. Now I was not prepared for GATE. Okay, but I had to showcase my resume in order to get into masters. I did give GATE, but I couldn't perform very well. GATE is a very, very hard exam. So I was not able to get into a top tier college, but I knew that if I want to do masters is all about what you can learn by yourself. Okay, no one is going to spoon feed you like they do in the bachelors. So I knew that I had to do a lot of things by myself, and I was very much inclined. I was inclined to do those. Okay, I never hesitate to learn something by myself which is not in my syllabus. I'm never going to say that okay, my syllabus sucks, because many people can complain their syllabus sucks and they are not able to do anything and they don't become job ready. I would say if you're not job ready, it is your fault. Okay, you cannot blame the system. System can be the way it wants. Okay, but you have to adapt in order to bring some change. Okay, not everyone is going to spoon feed you at any cost. So please understand this. You have to take efforts. You have to go extempore, learn a lot of things, and then only you can become a better version of yourself. Coming back to the topic, I considered masters and I had to give up on that job. I was very sad about it. But later on, I started my masters. In masters, I increased my teaching methodologies. I then started learning statistics, a lot of statistics, because I knew somehow or the other machine learning was using statistics, because many people call machine learning as the glorified statistics. So I knew in order to become a scientist, I will have to learn a lot of math. And in the beginning, when I was in my engineering, I had aim of doing PhD. Okay, I was very much inclined towards doing PhD, and I wanted to do PhD because it was pure research. So I was very much inclined to do that. But later on, some things changed. I want to talk about it. So later on, I expanded my horizon. I started learning statistics, linear algebra, calculus, and everything. I wanted to become very good at math, because I knew if I'm very good at math, the level of understanding that I have is going to expand. So that was the thing. Then in my masters, I gained a lot of mathematical skill because I had gained a lot in the coding. I was working on Keras, TensorFlow, Scikit-learn, Pandas, PyTorch, many things at once. Okay, so I was very good with the coding aspect of it, and I was not much concerned about the way the things are in the data science, because becoming a scientist is analyzing a problem on a different plane. Okay, it is not about how you code. You are not a software developer anymore. So, and even after masters, I had a plan that I was not going to become a software developer at any cost. I wanted to become a scientist itself. Okay, it can be, let's say, a small researcher, but I wanted to work on a pure research, and I was not going to go for PhD at the moment. So I decided to work after masters, and I started my job hunt, and later on I came across the job of a scientist. Okay, so I had some offers in my hand, and I selected this one because this one was purely focusing on the deep learning aspect, and we were actually working not just with the SOTA models but many other things. Okay, so I wanted to become very good at what I'm doing. So the aspect that we consider when you become a scientist is very much different than a software developer or a web developer. Okay, those people are also doing great jobs because they are actually putting out the applications in the real world, but a scientist is the one who is going to go in the depth of the field. I wanted to become that. I did that. I made it happen. It took me 4 years. So from 2017, 18, 19, 20 and 21, in 21 I became the scientist. So this was my journey, and I believe that you should focus on the things you want. If I would have not done masters, I would have done job. I had a job in the bachelor's itself. I would have taken it and pursued my goal. Okay, because I wanted to become a scientist, not necessarily a pure research scientist, but I could have also went for data scientist, because data scientist is also a very fascinating area. I was very much fascinated, and I was already working in a similar domain. I wanted to do that. So after I became scientist, I was very happy, because becoming a scientist is might not be goal for everyone, but for some people it is like their lifelong dream. Okay, because once you become a scientist, you have that happiness within you spurt and say to you that okay, you have finally done it. I had decided this in 10th standard, that was like 10 years ago, and finally I was able to make it. So it was a very, very happy moment for me. And becoming a scientist, I would say, is not hard. Okay, because what we think when we are, let's say, in the school, is becoming a scientist is an impossible thing, but that is not just the case. Please understand this. Anyone can become a data scientist. Even if you are mechanical, civil, or let's say chemical engineer, those people can also become a data scientist. It is not that hard as it looks. Please understand this. The people who impose that this particular thing is hard are the same people who want you to feel what they're working is hard, or their conceptualization might be quite less. I believe there are some things which are very, very impossible, but becoming a scientist requires curiosity. That's it. It requires nothing. If you're curious about the field, if you are ready to take efforts, if you want to make it happen, you can become a scientist at any cost. No one can stop you. I can assure you that I had a similar goal. I started with a web development background and transitioned into a software development background, where I was also working on CP and everything. I was prepared to become a software engineer, but I wanted something more. So I went extempore. I took the risk. I made it happen. Okay, I didn't think about what society is going to think about me. I was working a lot. So even after college, I would say my college was very far. I had to travel every day, but I never complained. I came at home, I studied a lot, I did, and I made it happen. So it is very, very fascinating. And even in the future, I'm going to make a lot of videos. What are the things that you should be doing at what moment? Okay, because I took a very, I would say, stranded path, and no one was there in my class to support me. I was learning from whatever was available online. I was trying to become a self-taught scientist, so which is a very difficult thing. It was, for me, it was like groping in the dark. Okay, I was just walking down this path and I didn't knew what to do. Okay, I would just do the things that were in front of me in order to make it happen, but I had that dedication, and I was very, very, I would say, motivated intrinsically motivated in order to become a scientist. If you have the same desire, even you can make it happen. It is not a rocket science, like I said, and even rocket science is not as it seems. All the science, if you take efforts, if you showcase your curiosity, and if you have a desire to work for that particular thing, you can make it happen. It is not at all difficult. My 4 years grinding finally paid me by becoming a scientist. Okay, so this is the thing I wanted to share with you in this video, and in the future videos I might come up with a lot of stuff where I'll explain you how to become a scientist professionally, and how you can do a lot of things, how you can become a software developer, or how you can become a web developer. I have personally mentored a lot of students, and I'll be glad to share that information with you on this platform. And I would really like to thank YouTube for helping me showcase my thoughts. So this is it about the today's video, and if you like my video, please subscribe to my YouTube channel, because I have a lot of content. I do post many tutorials and everything. Okay, I have many podcasts with the industry working professionals. I will also make more in the future if I get time. And this is it for the today's video. So thank you for watching. Goodbye.